Hi guys, my name is Josh, and today we're going to be talking about finding treasure or something like 10,000 Rand or money, right? So we could also find, something simple but relieving like the TV remote to watch Netflix or your favorite show. We could also find a shoe, our shoe, that, we need so that we don't walk on gravel or just we need it to go out. It's weird to go out barefoot, but I don't judge. So, like this lady who, as you can see, has found her phone, we are now going to find what elements are, right? What are these elements that we talk about? Elements are simply one's your name or this name, like Joe, Sally, Steve. It's not so complicated. Like, what is your name, right? Can you write your first name on a piece of paper? You can pause the video to do that. So once you've done that, then can you circle the first letter of your name? It should be to the left, the furthest left, of that word, right? You can pause the video to do that. So I'm going to do the same thing if we look at Joe, for example. The first letter of the name Joe is what? It's J, right? That is the first letter of Joe's name. And simply, the first letter of Joe's name is what elements are, is what an element is. So I bet, what was your first letter of your name? Maybe it's S or whatever it may be, A through Z. It's an element. It's simple as that, right? So, but now we don't only look at the first letter of the name, but we need to look at the whole name, right? Because say when someone calls you, right, whatever your name is, do they only call you by the first your first letter of your name? Usually, no. We need to call you or maybe your friend by your full name, which may be Sally or whatever your full name is. So, yes, the first letter of the name is important, but the whole name is also important, right? So, the first letter of the name in this case is J, and the whole name is Joe. Right, so let's look at some actual examples. So remember we talked about the first letter of the name, which is O, oxygen. And we talk about the whole name, which is oxygen, right? We can use other examples. What's the first letter of this name? C, just like the first letter of your name, nothing different. The first letter of this name is C, and then the whole name is what? Carbon. And let's do another one. The first letter of the name is what? It's N, right? And what's the whole name? The whole name is simply nitrogen. But, always but, unfortunately, there are exceptions. There are many exceptions, right? But you need to see when this rule is actually relevant to you, right? Because let me show you an example. So, examples of exceptions include helium. So, if you look at the word helium, we don't only use the first letter of the name H. We don't only use the first, but we use the first two letters of the name HE, right? Can you see the first two letters of the name are now important? Other examples of exceptions, gold. Ooh, everyone wants a piece of gold, right? So gold, just like the color yellow there, we do not use the first letter of the name gold, which is G. Instead, weirdly, we use AU, capital A, small u. Like, ow, what's going on? I don't know if you know that expression, AU, ow, right? Other exceptions, like this long exception, you use the first letter of the name R, but you do not use the second letter of the name H. So you use R, you do not use H. Instead, you use the third letter of the name, right? So if you're using the first letter and the third letter, which is, what would that be? R-E, right? So just use this as a hack, a trick to remember the elements, just your name, simple, right? Your first letter and your whole name, elements. Now, I want you to think about anything or say anything, whatever that is. You can pause the video to do that or do it right now. So you may have thought about Netflix, like I like Netflix, right? Or you may have thought about burgers. Ooh, I like KFC burgers. I like Steers burgers, right? These things, the thing that you just said, that we can call a claim or a postulate, right? Simple. What you just said is a claim or a postulate. But when we look at this, the science girl, a claim or a postulate is more scientific. It is more scientific. For example, we can talk about claims or postulates or things that are said related to global warming. Can you see global warming happening here? The earth is melting, right? So we need to do our part and not, spew so much smoke, black smoke into the air. So what are we saying about elements? Well, this here is a great example. This dragon, maybe you'll find the dragon in Game of Thrones. I don't know if you know that show, or maybe in Shrek or wherever. This dragon, which we have here, let's look at that. Can you see that tiny little piece there? The eye? That eye, let's call that eye an atom, right? That eye is an atom, and as you can see, it's tiny, it's small, right? It is minute, right? Compared to the whole big dragon, right? It is minute, right? Let's move on. So on this, we do not want this happening, right? Where you step on a Lego brick. You don't want it happening, right? Because when you step on a Lego brick, let's call this Lego brick an atom, and you step on it and you push down on that Lego brick, you may notice that red brick, that atom that we've called it, is not breaking. It's so strong. Even you can step on it and it still doesn't break, right? It's so strong. So the strongness of it, the strength, the fact that it is not breaking, we call that indivisible. So whenever you think of indivisible, think of that strong Lego brick that does not break. Right. Here's a Lego brick. Let's call it an atom. That's what we're going to name the blue Lego brick, an atom. Here's another blue Lego brick. Let's name it an atom. What do we simply notice? We notice that they are the same. They are identical, like identical twins. They look exactly the same. They have exactly the same eyes and nose, right? In the same way, these Lego bricks are the same, or as I used that word before, they are identical. These Lego bricks are identical. Now, as I talked about Shrek earlier, we all love Shrek. I love Shrek, the movie. It's great, right? So this is, if we look at this picture of Shrek, right? What do we see? We see what color is Shrek? Obviously, Shrek is green, right? So this Shrek is green. But now, Shrek is not just Shrek. Shrek is really cool, right? So we're going to call Shrek a green element, right? That's going to be his superhero name. He is a green element, right? Don't forget, Shrek, green element. Why is he a green element? Well, because he is green. So do not forget, Shrek is a green element. Why? Because he is green. Now, let's look at these minions. What color are these minions? These minions are obviously yellow, right? They are yellow. So because the minions are yellow, we're going to call them yellow element. Isn't that simple? So the Shrek, what do we call him? Green element. Minions, what do we call them? Yellow element. Now this part is easy, right? Let's look to the left at Shrek's eye. Anything on this Shrek here, his eye, we can call it an atom. His skin, we can call it an atom. His clothes, we can call it an atom. Isn't that so simple? So anything on Shrek, call it an atom. It's not hard. You can pass, get 100%, right? Let's look at this, right? Anything on this minion, his hair, guess what it is? Simple. Again, it's an atom. Anything on this minion, his skin, it's an atom. His clothes, it's an atom. Isn't that so easy to understand? Right, but let's look at this minion again, right? So all the skin and the hair and the clothes, or all the atoms, as we already know what they are, they belong to who? They belong to the minions. That's who they belong to. They belong to the minions. And what do we call the minions? They are yellow, so we call them what? A yellow element, right? So again, these atoms, these skin and clothes belong to what? The yellow element, right? Because, get it, right? Because they are yellow, the minions. Whereas if you look at Shrek, all these atoms that we're seeing here, all over his eyebrows, atoms, his skin, whatever you want to look at on Shrek, we can call it an atom, right? Even if you want to look behind at the backdrop, we can call it an atom, right? So all these atoms, the skin, the eye, the clothes, who does these things belong to? It belongs to Shrek, or it belongs to the green element, which is Shrek. Shrek's cool name, the green element. Why do we call these it a green element? Because Shrek is green, right? So all these atoms belong to the green element because Shrek is green. All right. So now let's look again, right? Let's look at Shrek, right? So Shrek is uh is if we had to pick up Shrek, do you think it would be easy? No, no, no. It won't be easy to pick up Shrek, right? Because Shrek is heavy. He's heavy. And another, when you try and pick up Shrek, that heaviness that you might feel, that's what mass is. So we're simply saying here that Shrek is heavy, right? His clothes, because they're probably drenched in swamp water, it's going to be heavy to carry. His clothes, his atom is going to be heavy to carry, right? And now, I bet you can see already on the screen there that the minions are there. If you try and carry a minion, do you think it's going to be easy in terms of weight? No, these minions are small. They are small compared to us humans, right? You'll notice, or compared to Gru. Gru is huge, right? So Gru is the, he keeps these minions. So so clearly that these minions are not very heavy. They are light, right? So if you try to carry, oh, easy, they're light, right? And another word for light, when we talk about light, we talk about mass. So we carry them, they're light. They have a light mass, right? We carry them a light mass, right? So this is all to say this, that atoms of, okay, so we know what atoms are, right? If you look anywhere at the Shrek's picture, you're going to see atoms. Atoms of different elements. So we have atoms all over in Shrek's picture, or the green element, which is one element, and we have all the atoms on the minions, the skin, the hair. All those atoms are on the yellow element. So can you see how we've got our atoms for Shrek, because he has to have his unique characteristics. He needs to be fat, because I think Shrek is fat or weighs more, right? So he has to have his own characteristics, and the minions have to have their own characteristics, right? Does that make sense, right? And then obviously they have different masses. So because he has his characteristics, like a big, strong arms and things like that, he will have a different mass, or he will be heavy. Whereas with the minions' characteristics, with them being all light, they will obviously have a different mass. They will be light mass. Get it? Now, let's talk about Superman. Superman is so cool, but let's specifically talk about his eye, right? So we know Superman can shoot lasers out of his eye. So this is a pretty damn cool eye, right? But he has a name for his eye, which I made up, called Atom Eye, right? Does that not sound cool? Atom Eye, because he doesn't have a normal eye, right? He can shoot lasers out of his eye, therefore he has an atom eye, right? So can you see Superman's blue atom eye? So if we look at it, can I ask you a question? Can you predict if you can make the blue atom eye to your left? Do you think you can make that eye? You can pause the video to answer. Maybe you can write it down or say it. I don't care how you do it. Just you can pause the video to answer. Yeah. So if you answered no, you would probably be correct, because no, I would not be able to make the blue atom eye to the left. If that was your instinct, or if that's what you thought, you are right. But now you're saying I'm wrong. If you are wrong, why? Well, this is the reason, my personal reason. I do not think I can make the blue atom eye to the left, because I do not know how to make the eye blink. right? How the hell, now if I'm going to make this eye, how in the world am I going to make this eye blink? How is that possible? Like a normal eye? It's impossible. How? Okay, let me ask you this. How do you think you are going to get that atom eye to shoot lasers out of its eyes? Do you think you can create that? No. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that, it's probably a good thing that we can't create living human breathing beings, right? But anyways, we cannot make this blue atom eye. We cannot make Superman's atom eye. Okay, let's look at this creature, this very cool creature, which again I will call Atom. Right? So Atom, he looks very angry. Grr, he kind of looks like Shrek, right? So let's look at it. So if I throw a stone at him and say your friend or my friend throws a hammer at him, does he look like he got hurt? Look at him. Just look at the picture. Does he look like he got hurt? No, because he's still standing. I don't see any injuries. I don't see any blood. I don't see any wounds. So he's still fine. What do you think you can throw at Atom to break him, right? You can pause the video to answer. So there is nothing that you can throw at Atom for him to be destroyed. He is very strong, and Atom cannot be destroyed, as you can see on the right hand of the screen. Now, let's move on. Again, we have Atom. Now, once you, let's say you move your hand to throw something, right? That movement, I want you to pay attention to it. Even right now, I want you to act like you're throwing something. Can you feel that movement, right? As you throw something, that movement, that heat that you might be experiencing in your hand as you try and throw something, we can say that that's like a chemical reaction, right? That's like a chemical reaction. Right. Now, let's talk about something quite gossipy, which is when you are dating, right? I'm sure there's love hearts and things that happen when you are dating. The first thing you need is chemistry, right? Without chemistry, without those, that laughter, those butterflies in your stomach, we're not going places, probably, right? So that butterflies in your stomach is kind of like the chemistry that we do in the class, right? It's just what chemistry is about. Those butterflies are just what chemistry is about, right? Then, if everything goes well, right? If everything goes well, you're going to get married, right? You're going to get married, yeah, you're going to have a nice ceremony. Your friends are going to probably be there. And then what comes next? Then you move in. And what happens when you move in? You combine. So the girl brings, or your wife brings in their objects, and then your husband brings in their objects, or whoever you marry, they bring in their objects together and live in the house. So maybe you're going to have your husband's TV, and maybe you're going to have your sofa, right? So as you can see, that their objects are combined. One box is for the husband, one box is for the wife. And it's the same thing like how you combine chemicals, right? Just as you combine different objects when you move in, when you get married, then the same thing will be when you combine different chemicals, right? Now, let's look at these two shapes, right? From your screen, can you try and move the triangle and circle, right? Try and move it. You can pause the video to do that, right? So, were you able to move it? Probably not, because these triangles and circles are stuck. They cannot move, right? They are stuck, right? So another word for stuck is fixed. They are fixed in place. They just sit there. Now, let's go back to our gossipy topic, or our interesting topic, relationship couple, right? So they are in a relationship, right? So great, right? So there is one person, right, which is there, right, in the relationship, and there is another person in the couple, right? So there are two people, right? And they are together. Can you see? There's one person, there's another person, and they are together. So in the same way, We have one person flying in and we have another person flying in, and they are together. That one person, another person, that is basically what a ratio is. Ratios are simple. Next. So while you are dating, you become so close to one another, right? You do, right? Because you spend a lot of time with them and you talk to them. You become so close with one another that you become a compound, right? It's almost like you're together, you're a unit. And in the same way, we have this compound. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I'll see you later. Bye bye.